It is Friday, May 14th. I'm Sam Cedar.
And I'm Lucy Steiner. Which one of these stories will you be talking about today?
If you're fully vaccinated against the coronavirus, the U.S. government says you no longer need to wear a face mask in most places. Meanwhile, a new investigation reveals that Project Veritas ran a secret campaign to discredit Donald Trump's imagined enemies inside the government. With the help of a former British spy, it even targeted FBI agents for hidden camera sting operations. Lastly, nearly 2 million Americans in 16 Republican-ruled states are facing imminent cuts to their jobless benefits. This is what they consider good government, making people suffer for no good reason.
You're listening to Majority.fm's AM Quickie, and these are the stories you need to know.
This cause for celebration comes from the Washington Post. Americans who are fully vaccinated can go without masks or physical distancing in most cases, even when they are indoors or in large groups. This, according to federal officials, said this yesterday. The announcement paves the way for a full reopening of society. Rochelle Walensky, director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, said, quote, "We have all longed for this moment when we can get back to some sense of normalcy. Based on the continuing downward trajectory of cases, the scientific data on the performance of our vaccines, and our understanding of how the virus spreads, that moment has come for those who are fully vaccinated." End quote. More than 154 million Americans have had at least one shot, and 117 million are fully vaccinated, about 35% of the population. The Post says Walensky cited a growing body of real-world evidence demonstrating the efficacy of the coronavirus vaccines. She noted the shots offer protection even against more contagious variants circulating in the United States. The relaxation of masking does not apply to airplanes, buses, trains, and other public transportation, to healthcare settings, or where state and local restrictions still require them. Officials also noted that some business settings may require masks, especially since some workers remain unvaccinated. Walensky urged those who are immune compromised to speak with their doctors before giving up their masks. For everyone else, enjoy the feeling of air on your face. This dive into conservative skullduggery comes from the New York Times. A network of conservative activists, aided by a British former spy, mounted a campaign during the Trump administration to discredit perceived enemies of Donald Trump inside the government. This according to documents and people involved in the operations. The campaign included a planned sting operation against Trump's national security advisor at the time, H.R. McMaster, and secret surveillance operations against FBI employees aimed at exposing anti-Trump sentiment in the Bureau's ranks. The operations against the FBI, run by the conservative group Project Veritas, were conducted from a large home in the Georgetown section of Washington that rented for $10,000 per month. Female undercover operatives arranged dates with the FBI employees with the aim of secretly recording them making disparaging comments about Trump. Central to the effort, according to the Times, was Richard Seddon, a former undercover British spy. Seddon was recruited in 2016 by the security contractor Eric Prince to train Project Veritas operatives to infiltrate trade unions, Democratic congressional campaigns, and other targets. The scheme against McMaster was one of the most brazen operations of the campaign. It involved a plan to hire a woman armed with a hidden camera to capture McMaster making inappropriate remarks that his opponents could use as leverage to get him ousted as national security advisor. He eventually resigned anyway to avoid being fired by Trump, which suggests this Project Veritas campaign was yet another bottomless pit for conservative donors' money. I cannot tell you how hard I had to make an effort to not laugh during that entire story.
Majority.fm's AM Quickie is fueled by JustCoffee.coop. Just Coffee is a worker-owned coffee roaster based in Madison, Wisconsin that has sponsored the Majority Report for nearly a decade. Check out their collection of fair trade roasts, including our own Majority Report blend. And regardless of what you order, receive 10% off your order when you use the code MAJORITY at checkout. And all shipping is free. That's coupon code MAJORITY at JustCoffee.coop.
Republican cruelty is also bottomless. The Washington Post reports that more than 1.9 million Americans in Alabama, Mississippi, and 14 other Republican-led states are set to have their unemployment checks slashed starting in June as GOP governors seek to restrict jobless assistance in an effort to force more people to return to work. The cuts are likely to fall hardest on roughly 1.4 million people who benefit from stimulus programs that Congress adopted at the height of the coronavirus pandemic, including one targeting those who are either self-employed or work on behalf of gig economy companies such as Uber. Beginning next month, many of these workers are likely to receive no aid at all. According to the Post, the looming cliff reflects an emerging campaign on the part of the GOP leaders to combat what they consider a national worker shortage. Arizona and Ohio became the latest states yesterday to announce plans to scale back benefits out of a belief that the federal payments have deterred people from returning to their old positions. The reality is more complicated. Slowdown in hiring may instead reflect workers' concerns about their safety, difficulty obtaining childcare, or their trouble finding suitable positions in hard-hit industries on top of mounting frustration about wages they consider too low. That means the loss of unemployment benefits over the next month threatens to inflict new financial harm on those who say they're already struggling. Our sympathy to all those affected in red states.
And now for some quicker quickies.
Quicker quickie.
The Associated Press reports that Hamas sent a barrage of rockets into Israel yesterday as Israel pounded Gaza with more airstrikes and shells and called up 9,000 reservists who could be used to stage a ground invasion. Reuters reports that individuals involved in the new eruption of Israeli-Palestinian bloodshed may be targeted by an international criminal court investigation now underway. War criminals beware. According to Bloomberg News, Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo this week set an audacious new benchmark in her campaign to reduce car use: a ban on most vehicle traffic crossing the city center. The plan would stop through traffic from a large zone covering Paris's core to cut pollution and noise and free up more space for trees, bicycles, and pedestrians. Très magnifique, as they would say. USA Today reports that a Marine Corps officer was arrested yesterday and charged with assaulting police officers at the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Major Christopher Womargris, 40, of Woodbridge, Virginia, is the first service member on active duty charged for his role in the deadly riot. Semper forget about it. Washington Post reports that Joel Greenberg, a Florida politician who's central to the investigation into Representative Matt Gaetz for possible sex trafficking of a minor, signaled yesterday that he will plead guilty in his own federal case. It is a troubling development for the congressman, as it suggests prosecutors have secured a potentially important witness against him. Too bad for Gaetz that Trump pardon fell through.
Quicker quickie.
That's all for the AM Quickie. Join us this afternoon at noon live for the Majority Report or later as a podcast.